Some people call me nosy, not for the questions I ask, but for always wanting to find out the answer to pretty much everything, because I love to research. I'm curious. And it's not that I don't trust other people's answers, it's that I want to find the answers for myself. I want to do all the work. And it's way too easy to ask somebody else for the answers to my curiosity. Besides, what I find on my journeys for the answers, I always find more questions to find answers to. It's almost like getting lost in the rabbit hole. I'm Janaan Van Zandt, and I have a curious mind.
On the flip side, I found I do not have a curious mind. Although I have many questions in my own head, I have found I have a hard time asking other people questions. Or even when I do have these questions in my own head, I find myself not pursuing the answers to these questions. I tend to let others come to me. I like being a listening ear rather than I feel like pushing people to tell me things. Um, I I am Elaina and I do not have a curious mind.
What do you mean you don't have a curious mind?
I don't know. I don't think I'm that curious of a person.
Wait a second. You're going to college. So what is your major at BSU?
My major is dual elementary and special education.
Okay, wait a second. You know teachers are curious, right?
I guess I guess now that you say that, they do have to be curious.
Okay, so tell me, what made you decide to pursue a teacher certification?
So I would say ever since about 8th grade, I knew I wanted to be a teacher. Education is always something that I was drawn to, even though I had a pretty tough time in my early education years. I do have a reading disability. It wasn't found until about 3rd grade. So in my mind, I always felt like this dumb kid in class because I couldn't read as fast or as fluently as my peers. And especially at that young of an age, those start to take tolls on you. But once we found out that I did have a reading disability in 3rd grade, my grades skyrocketed, my self-confidence went through the roof. I felt like one of the kids again. And I guess that's probably why I'm drawn to education, and especially special education. I don't want any of my students to go through that up and down roller coaster of not feeling good enough. And I would just like to help my students get on that path and really enjoy their education.
I absolutely love that you are into special education because I spent several years as a paraeducator with plans to become a special education teacher. As a matter of fact, my associate's degree is in special education. And I loved working with special ed kids. I got to learn different ways to teach them because they learn differently. And I don't mean that to put them in this group, but it was just the coolest thing to be able to get into their brains and learn what helped them learn better. And one of my favorite things was through the BSU tutoring program, I got to actually tutor reading, which was so much fun. And I actually used Reader's Theater to help my 5th grade boys read better. And so I think that's, first of all, it's kind of cool that you and I have that in common. And second
Right.
of all, teachers are just curious. How could you not be curious?
Right, because I always think that the baseline of teaching is finding where your students are at, knowing where they need to be, and then getting them to that end goal. And I guess through that process, you have to be curious and ask yourself questions, or myself, on ways I can get my students to that end goal. And I can't do that unless I'm being curious. So maybe I am more curious than I think.
Ah, yes, you are. And telling a story allows you to connect with people because connecting is so important. It creates empathy. And that's how you love your kids, end up loving those kids that you work with and teach. And so I'm always asking questions.
Okay, now that I am self-diagnosed not curious, I do have a question for you. Why did you decide to pursue a multidisciplinary degree when you could have taken the path to just earn your teaching certificate?
Ah, the question. I have a lot of credits, but more focused on criminal justice because I spent most of my life working in law enforcement. I've always had the big dream of being a teacher, and I got to teach adults when I worked in corrections for a long time, but I didn't think I could continue that and get my degree. So I'm like wanting to be a teacher again. I'm not going to lie, but I was like, I really love criminal justice because in itself, it's also a learning curve because my plan was to become a probation and parole officer where I can help people reintegrate back into society. But now that I'm talking to you, it kind of makes me want to be a teacher again. So I guess leaving it open with a multidisciplinary studies degree, I can actually pursue a teaching certificate after I get my bachelor's degree.
That's
So
awesome.
yeah, so I'm hoping I could do something like that down the road, but I'm
Right.
not sure.
I do have another question because I have asked myself this a lot.
Mhm.
Was the salary in education, did that ever sway what you wanted to do? Because I have thought about that a lot as well.
Yes. Um, it is because teachers definitely do not get paid enough,
Right.
but neither do law enforcement.
Okay.
So growing up in a law enforcement family, I knew what it was like to not have the money for things that you would have. And same with teachers. Public service is an honorable position to go into, and being a teacher going to college makes you very curious to learn how to be a better person overall. In the public sector, you're never going to be rich, you're just not, and it can never be about the money. It just can't be.
Right. I found myself doing that too because when I often talk to people and tell them that I'm going into education, either people are rooting me on and they love it,
Hmm.
or I always get the, well, someone's got to do it. And at the beginning, that always like hurt like literally hurt, like it just was a punch right in the gut. Like I didn't like that answer. And for a really hard time, I debated whether or not should I go into education. A lot of people are telling me I'm not going to make enough. It's a lot of hard work. Is it really worth it? And through like self-discovery and getting into the classroom and just really like developing why I want to become a teacher, I have found that this is the path for me. And I don't think I would have done that if I didn't ask myself those questions, if I didn't go into classrooms and really discover if this is for me, if this is what I really want to do. And I was just really glad that I did take the time because I also think you do need to get into the classroom and find out if this is for you. So being curious and taking those steps forward, not only the questions, but putting it into action and taking those steps forward to finding out if this was for me. And it definitely is for me.
So wait a second, you asked yourself questions too.
I did. I found that I am better at asking myself questions than asking
Mhm.
others questions.
Oh, see, when you're a teacher, you'll get a chance to ask a lot of questions, and the kids will ask you a lot of questions too,
Yes, they will.
and expect you to have all the answers. So
Right.
one nice thing, so right now I work in juvenile detention, which
Okay.
is kind of a mix of working in law enforcement and working as a paraeducator. It's because I work with these kids who are troubled kids, and they're having a hard time in life. So we teach them life skills, and I work with a team of people, and sometimes I'm the team leader. And what I've learned is that the questions that I ask my teammates, I kind of changed the way I used to say, hey, can you do this? Hey, can you take care of this? Now I go, hey, would you be okay to take care of this tonight? Or would you rather I do it? So I opened up this opportunity for them to make a choice. And what I found is that questions create both the authority in them to come up with their own ideas and take their own action. And they feel like they're making a choice without being told or bossed around what to do. And what I have learned is a big change in the environment at work. My teammates are like, yeah, sure, I'll go. I have no problem doing that, even though I know that's what I want them to do. But I want them to be willing to say, I want to do that for you. It's huge when you start asking questions in the team aspect at work to allow them, it kind of sparks their ideas. Hey, can I do it this way? Or they start doing things a little differently. As long as the end result is the same, we have a better environment. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does. I found that too. I've learned that through curiosity, the connections you make with people are just move forward so much. By asking people questions, they feel like you care about them as well as they learn to care about you. You just, through this storytelling and asking each other questions, you just move so much farther, and not only in your life, but I feel they can move forward in their life as they share their own stories. They feel like they're being listened to. They feel like they're being cared about. So it's not only about your own journey and being curious, but about their journey and people being curious about them.
I really like what you said, because when I spend time with someone, I want to hear their ideas, their suggestions, their problems that I don't know about. Because just because I do the same thing every day doesn't mean I'm not missing something that they can see. And I want to listen to what that is. That's my curiosity. What are you seeing that I'm not seeing? And I have this great coworker who's very good at catching things that I completely miss, because we put on these shutters and don't look either way. We just are forward, and this person goes, hey, what about over here? And it's what's going on their head, and you're like, oh, you opened my eyes. And I want to know what their answer is. What are they seeing? And then I want to look at their facial, how their eyes are handling it, how their bodies, how passionate they are about the situation that we're dealing with. And that's when I learn more about that person, because their expression, their body language gives away so much more about the story they're telling me, or what they've noticed, or what they haven't noticed, or it's very interesting to be able to get into somebody's head that way.
Yes, and you would never find out those things about them unless you started to ask those questions and you begin the conversation about being curious.
Hmm. And I really like that connection by asking. Is there anything else that you have learned by now realizing that you're curious, besides asking questions and connecting with people?
I would just say that realizing that I am more curious, I would like to be more fearlessly curious. It takes courage to be fearlessly curious. Um, Through this, I have discovered that I am a little more curious than I thought. I like to be safe. I like to make safe decisions. Uh, Most people do not start out with this amazing fearlessness. I would say it takes time. And I'm okay with that now. I think it has taken time for me to be more curious. So, saying that, I would just like to take the next step and be more fearlessly curious. There's a quote that says, "You're born curious, and no matter how much battering your curiosity has taken, it's standing by, ready to be awakened." And I really think I have learned how to awaken my curiousness through the things that I am passionate about, through people I am passionate with, that really just awakening not only my curiosity, but theirs as well.
I really like that. So I think we need to wrap things up. Is that what it looks like?
It
So
does.
what I've learned is curiosity allows you to get to know the people around you. It teaches you something new about the people you already know. Curiosity takes you to places you've never been. It allows you to connect to the people in the world around you. Sometimes curiosity takes you to the hard places, to painful experiences of people you love. But you have to listen to understand them. Listen to the way they form their words. Listen to the inflection and the tone of their voice when they answer a question. Watch their body language. Those nonverbal cues will tell you a lot about how passionate someone is about the answer. This kind of curiosity will help you learn more about the person you're talking to and connect with them by asking questions.
Yes.